Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us for today's Isabella Project Virtual Lunch and Learn. This is the first one of 2026, and we are so happy to see you all. And we are joined by three very special guests from Child Development Resources of Ventura County, who will be discussing the Guaranteed Income Pilot Program today with the Isabella Project. And I will also be reading off their bios for you. But just to share first, we have Stuart Erlinsky, Lizette Worth, and Annabelle Aguilar. So I'll be reading their bios for you now. All right. Stuart Erlinsky is the Chief Operations Officer for Child Development Resources of Ventura County. He has over 30 years of experience in early care and development programs, finance, data, and systems analysis for nonprofit and for-profit organizations. He has a broad and detailed knowledge of California state childcare and federally funded Head Start programs. Lizette Worth is a child care services manager with Child Development Resources, bringing extensive experience in nonprofit program administration, regulatory compliance, and team leadership. She oversees multiple state-funded child care programs, ensuring alignment with California state and county requirements while supporting staff development and program quality. Lizette Worth earned her MA in Counseling Psychology at Argosy University. And lastly, Annabelle Aguilar is a resource and referral specialist at CDR, where she has proudly served for nearly 4 years. With over 11 years of experience in the early childhood education field, including teaching pre-K and transitional kindergarten, she brings a wealth of knowledge to support families and childcare providers. In her role, she engages in community outreach, recruits new providers, and connects families to childcare referrals and essential programs. She also develops and facilitates workshops for childcare professionals, conducts the CA preventative health and safety programs across our county and Santa Barbara, and supports parent and provider cafes, serving as liaison for their hubs. So thank you all three so much for being here, and I'll hand it over to you to begin our program.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lizette Worth. I'm going to share my screen in a second, so please bear with me while I do so.
And Lizette, while you're here, I know a number of the people that have joined today from the Isabella Project were, part of the team that had just kind of even envisioned that this might even become a possibility. And we have funders here on the call today that have helped contribute to making this a reality. And I just want to say a huge thank you. I mean, Child Development Resources really stepped in, so innovative, so responsive, so creative, and really brought your depth of expertise into this work. And Lizette, I just want to say thank you to all three. Annabelle, Stuart, I just want to say thank you. And then Alicia, I also see you here, and I just want to say thank you so much. This has really been a beautiful team vision that has blossomed into something that Child Development Resources you have just taken and really run, and the impact is tremendous. So I get a lot of hope from what has been built. And I just want to say thank you to all involved. And of course, a special shout out to my board chair, Leah Lacayo. Thank you for helping to support us as we've been working to pound the pavement to make this happen. So please, Lizette, with that, please continue.
Thank you, Vanessa. You gave us a great intro. So welcome, everyone. We're here to discuss the Guaranteed Income Project and its inception. So we're going to go into our first slide. So in today's Lunch and Learn, we will be going through the different phases in creating and initiating the Guaranteed Income Project. First, how we got here, how funding was acquired through the broader Isabella Project initiative, to program overview and candidate selection, to then looking at common provider challenges, to the start of the program and provider hopes with receiving these funds. We will then look at the program impacts, specifically as it relates to the provider's emotional well-being and the improvements generated within their family childcare homes, which created advancements to infant toddler care being offered in Santa Paula. We will also be looking at their overall ability to grow their business and capacity. And lastly, we will be looking at the provider's successes, and as well as feedback provided and photos of their improved facilities. With that being said, I'm going to start off with Stuart talking about how we got here.
Thank you, Lizette. So in 2024 November, we received an email from Vanessa Bechtel with the Ventura County Community Foundation that they had been awarded a grant from the Roads Futures Foundation for a guaranteed income project to go to the Isabella project. Now, the Roads Futures is a foundation that is funded by a cosmetic company as part of their commitment to investing to support organizations actively dismantling the barriers that impede women in their careers and limit their access to health care while helping them in pursuing their long-term goals. Now, the grant comes from the Support for Moms Fund that invests in impactful organizations, delivering guaranteed income and resources to new mothers, mother-like figures, and caregivers across the U.S., together with a national network of 10 organizations, in which VCCF was one of the awardees as part of those 10 organizations. They are providing much needed support to moms, and which in turn strengthens families and empowers communities. So the foundation partnered with us to identify childcare providers in the city of Santa Paula that would benefit from this type of grant. We identified 8 small, they call them small family childcare home operators that fit the profile of this grant's intended recipients for these funds for women, caregivers in low income communities. The guaranteed income grants are programs that are provided people with regular, unconditional cash payments without requirements like employment or spending restrictions. Their main benefit is financial stability, and recipients can cover basic needs such as housing, food, healthcare, reduce stress, and have more flexibility to pursue education, better jobs, or caregiving. Now, studies of these programs often show the improvements in well-being, economic mobility, and just an overall quality of life. Foundation did have some goals with these funds when we met and discussed how we would do this, and this included promoting the providers' overall wellness and health, increasing their capacity to serve infant and toddlers, and improving the quality of their care. And in addition, we were able to leverage some other Isabella project fundings through the Economic Development Collaborative, which is another great partner in this process. And we utilized some of their funds to help support this grant so that we could support the providers in this process and use those funds to help provide technical assistance for these providers so that they could utilize some of those funds to improve their businesses, increase their capacity, especially to serve more children and or infants and toddlers. So that's basically the history of how we got here. I'm going to hand it back over to Lizette to start diving deep into the program itself.
And Stuart, I just want to chime in because he's here, but I want to acknowledge Cameron Burns, who's also on this Zoom. Cameron has an expertise. Cameron, I don't mean to call you out, but I just need to because you taught me so much about Guaranteed Income Pilot Program and were instrumental in how we were able to even write the grant application. And of course, you've had a huge career, and I didn't mean to interrupt Lizette, but Stuart, beforehand, I just wanted to shout out Cameron, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Really, you worked on the Guaranteed Income Pilot Program. Cameron, can you just share a little bit about your background real quick?
Happy to, yeah. So in 2017, I worked for the former Stockton Mayor, Michael Tubbs, who launched the first mayor-led guaranteed income program, 125 folks receiving $500 a month. Lo and behold, when you give folks cash, they're more able to get a job, secure better childcare, all of the positive outcomes that we're see here as well. And in 2020, worked for him to launch Mayors for Guaranteed Income, which now we organize around 275 local electeds pushing for cash in people's pocket. So yeah, pleasure to be here and thrilled to see how far this work has come. And yeah, this is where the work happens. So thank you.
Thank you. I just realized I saw you there and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting to be able to thank you in person and just you've really donated quite a significant amount of your time to helping us. So thank you. And with that, Lisette, I promise I'll try not to interrupt you, but as people show up, I might call them out because it was such a team effort behind the scenes.
No, we appreciate it, and we appreciate everyone's time that went into making this a success. We've been looking at guaranteed income more within our state and through our organizations that help support advocacy throughout California, and this does seem to be a great tool to help individuals come out of poverty and build their successes and, get better opportunities throughout their life with this, short term of income guaranteed for, 12 months to 2 years. It's amazing for them. So we appreciate all the work. Now we're going to go to the next slide. So program overview. The program was designed to stabilize and promote growth within 8 family childcare homes. The childcare home providers by providing a $521 monthly stipend to help alleviate their financial stress and increase the overall well-being of the provider and the children that they serve. During the 2 years, providers were given $12,504 in stipend payments, an over amount of $100,032 for all providers who participated. The first year of the program ran from April 2025 to March 2026. To track the overall success of the program, surveys were issued every 3 to 6 months. The first survey taking place at 3 months in July of 2025, then at 9 months in December of 2025, and at the year mark, which was this month of March of 2026. The program was funded for a second year with a lump sum being issued for a full 12 months. The second year's funds were deposited this month as well. Candidate selection. The Guaranteed Income Project operates under the broader Isabella project, with the goal of strengthening the childcare infrastructure in Santa Paula. Accordingly, CDR directed its efforts towards supporting small family childcare homes, which face enrollment limitations that often discourage them from serving infants and toddlers, as doing so further reduces their overall capacity. By investing and supporting small family childcare home providers, the initiative aims to help them expand and enhance their facilities, positioning them to transition towards becoming large family childcare homes and increasing the availability of quality childcare in the community. A portion of the small family childcare homes were newly licensed providers who had limited learning materials, furniture, and outdoor equipment. This opportunity enabled them to build out their facilities, which would appeal to families to enroll with them. The family childcare homes in Santa Paula were issued a survey to gauge their interest. 25 providers were outreached and 16 providers responded. CDR focused on enrolling those with a small family childcare home and any large family childcare homes that were limited in being able to serve infants and toddlers. Provider challenges and hopes prior to program enrollment. So about 71% of the providers faced challenges affording necessities, specifically food, utilities, and transportation. A notable portion of the providers were also experiencing ongoing stress, which impacted their mental well-being. And at the start of the program, only 50% of the providers reported feeling as though they were having a positive impact on families and children. This ultimately shows that stress and financial insecurity was affecting their ability to be present in building a strong family environment for their own families and for those that they serve. At the start of the program, our hopes were fairly simple, hoping to expand those small family childcare homes to large, although many providers knew that this was difficult to achieve due to housing costs. Building quality by acquiring learning materials to improve their learning environment. Increase environment to offer slots to infants and toddlers, and essentially eliminate debt that was incurred through the launch of their business. The program impacts. So we saw an increase in financial stability. We saw an improved sense of mental well-being, the positive impact on their family and children that they care for, and we saw that they were able to afford necessities such as food, utilities, and housing. And as the program continued, we saw that there was less of a need to use these funds on food, utilities, and housing, and shifted over to other necessities, which seemed to be focusing on the building of their business and the materials that they offer for their children. But the real impacts took place in the provider's mental well-being and their ability to redirect their focus from surviving to thriving with their own facilities and overall impacting the Santa Paula community. So now we're going to look at the advances in infant toddler care. So like I mentioned, our goals were simple in the beginning. We were hoping to enhance their learning environments and quality. We were hoping to expand the slots for infant and toddlers. And we were hoping to explore the effectiveness of guaranteed income for childcare providers and enhancing their business program. But under enhancements, providers and children experienced reduced stress, contributing to a more positive environment where children were increasingly engaged and eager to learn. This has also led to improvements to outdoor environments, which enhanced functionality and allowed for smoother transitions between activities. Providers also acquired essential business tools, including outreach and promotional materials such as business cards to strengthen their visibility and their operations. Under expand, providers who previously had no enrolled children invested in furniture, learning materials, and play equipment, increasing the appeal of their program to families. 7 out of 8 providers successfully enrolled infants and toddlers, demonstrating growth in service capacity. Some providers expanded their capacity by relocating to larger homes and purchasing vehicles to better support their business needs, such as expanding their services to include transportation. Under explore, the reduction in stress has allowed for time to improve business practices, communication with parents, organization of activities for the day, for children to enhance learning and routine, and networking with other childcare providers. All tools which have helped them expand and grow and sustain their business. So the overall successes that we saw within this program, we saw improved learning environments. So reduced stress among providers and children, leading to a more engaging, supportive space that foster active participation in learning. We saw strengthened business practices. So providers enhanced their operations through better organization, improved communication with families, and increased collaboration with peers. We also saw enhanced facilities and resources. We saw investments in furniture, learning materials, play equipment, and outdoor spaces, which improved the quality and functionality of their care environments. We also saw increased business capacity. So providers expanded their operations by moving to larger spaces and acquiring vehicles to better support service delivery. And then successful enrollment growth. The majority of providers enrolled infants and toddlers with overall increases and in the number of children served. We saw greater business stability. Mainly providers reported increasing stability in their businesses, reflecting stronger environment and improved sustainability. And lastly, it expanded outreach and visibility. The acquisition of promotional tools, such as business cards, help providers strengthen their community presence and attract families. On the next slide, we're going to look at some of the feedback that we received from the providers. So to protect their anonymity, I listed them as provider 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Although we did have 8 providers participate, I've only took comments from 5. From provider 1, at this moment, I have 6 children. Thanks to this program, I was able to set up my daycare by buying cribs, toys, clothes, and food for young children. I used to feel embarrassed when new parents came for a tour because I had nothing. But today I am much better. Thank you so much. From provider 2, It has been very helpful for me because I am finishing projects in my center that I had not been able to complete. I also covered part of the cost of air conditioning and bought more materials for my center. So my children and I are very grateful for your help. Thank you very, very much. Provider 3, I improved my business practices by keeping better financial records, managing expenses more carefully, and maintaining consistent communication with customers. These changes have helped my business operate more efficiently and remain stable. Provider 4, yes, I have made improvements to my learning environment by adding new materials and activities appropriate for infants and toddlers, and by improving the organization of the classroom to create a safer and more engaging space. These changes have helped support children's early development and improve the overall quality of my childcare program. Provider 5, yes, the impact on confidence and security it has given my business has been excellent. We have gained confidence and security that it is possible to move forward from wherever you are and reach as far as you want with the help of this program. So it's been a real impact to childcare providers. One of the most notable successes is from provider 1, who had no children enrolled in her facility, and at the end of this program now has 6. And that provider has also been able to acquire a larger home, which she is currently working with childcare licensing, to get it approved and licensed so that she can transition her kids over to this larger facility and then start serving 12 to 14 children in the community. On the next slide, we have a couple of photos of the improvements that were made. As you can see, they were able to purchase toddler-sized furniture, which is really hard, and expensive. It's hard to purchase because it is expensive. They were able to get storage through the acquisition of cubbies, and you see the huge amount of learning materials that are now available to the children, including a very colorful carpet, which is conducive for circle time, for learning and engaging with children. And they're also able to purchase a changing table, which is photographed on the bottom right of this slide. And changing tables can be expensive, and so this is a great addition to their facility and meeting licensing requirements. So next, I'm gonna give time over to Annabelle to talk about the work that she's done with the providers one-on-one.
Thank you, Lisette. Hello, everyone. I'm Annabelle. In my role with the project, I supported providers in making thoughtful decisions about how to use their funds in ways that best benefit the children in their care. I conducted home visits to observe the providers' environments and engage in conversations about ideas and suggestions for using their funds effectively. While many providers already had a clear plan of their needs, I offered guidance and recommendations when requested. During some of the visits, I asked reflective questions such as what materials or resources do you feel are most needed in your environment right now? Are there any specific areas or age groups where children need additional support or engagement? How do you envision using these funds to enhance learning and play for the children? Are there challenges in your environment that these funds could help address? Are there items you have wanted to add but you did not have the resources for, or would you like feedback or suggestions on alternative ways to use the funds effectively? These were just some questions that I had for them to reflect on their environment, their needs. These questions, I felt like encouraged the providers to reflect on their needs and prioritize their goals and ensure that the funds were used to create safe, engaging, and developmentally appropriate learning environments. Through this project, I have worked with providers with diverse needs and priorities. Some focus on purchasing materials for infants and toddlers, as we see on the images, and while others prioritize resources for school age as well to support engagement and enrichment. Providers have shared that these funds have significantly improved their ability to welcome more infants and toddlers and to create age-appropriate, engaging, and safe learning environments for the children in their care, as Lisette has previously mentioned. So that was my part in this project with the providers.
I wanted to mention that one of the nice things about this program is that the funds were unrestricted. When we've had these opportunities in the past from the state, specifically during COVID, we had expansion dollars that were made available for providers to, help them sustain their businesses during COVID. A lot of the limitations that were made during that program was that they could not make investments into purchasing a home or land or vehicles. So one of the things that providers really need to be able to invest in to expand and grow their business is to invest in property, in their housing, and in vehicles, because vehicles allow them to offer a service such as transportation to transport children to and from school, which is a need that many parents need. So the fact that they were able to use these dollars for those investments was immensely helpful. And when we first started this program, they were very concerned that that becoming a large family childcare home would be something that would be very unattainable. But as we saw, one of our providers was able to reach this goal. So this was a huge success for them, and it brought a great sense of peace and calm to their daily lives so that they can focus on building something and not just trying to survive day to day. And with that, we want to say thank you, and then we can open it up for questions and answers.
That I just have to say, you, Annabelle Stewart, and Child Development Resources, Jack Canosa is a co-chair of the effort. I just will say your leadership has been so tremendous. And I think one of the most beautiful gifts that was not part of the original application was the partnership with you and your expertise and the love and the care that you bring to the work that you do every day. To me, this is one of the most meaningful grants I've personally been able to be a part of in a small role. I want to say, like, I just see it. I see the impact. I've gotten an opportunity, obviously, to read the reports and the updates, and it's just very powerful what you have been making happen and possible. And if you think about the scale of the impact for $100,000 and for a 2-year program, to see the results of that has been just unbelievably tremendous. And I'm so proud of the work that you've been doing, and just grateful. So I do want to make sure to open it up, and maybe what we can do is stop sharing the screen and that we can all see each other and take questions. But again, I know some of us may have entered a little late. This is definitely a representative of a team effort. And some of the early conversations were just, is this possible? And Cameron, again, thank you, because you said, yes, it's possible. Stuart, thank you for acknowledging the incredible contribution of the Roads Future Foundation, because without them, this wouldn't have materialized. And then for the Economic Development Collaborative and the funders that had generously contributed to making that grant possible, for that partnership to be there, again, just tremendous. But this has really been a significant team effort. And again, year two of something. So can I ask the first question? Would you like it to continue?
Yes, I would very much like it to continue. I would very much like it to expand to different parts of our county. We have a lot of providers who are looking at opening up their own childcare business because it's a way for them to be independent, build something while still maintaining their home and being at their home so they can support their own children and their families. And there's a lot of expenses that come up as you're starting to initiate this business. There's licensing costs, and there's costs to setting up your environment. There's just a lot that goes into it, and a lot of it is materials. And we look at quality materials and where those come from, and those vendors tend to be a lot more expensive. And so, those are the ones that are going to last years, where the children are going to be able to play with them and use them and have no issues with them for an extended period of time, which is a huge investment for the provider to do in the beginning, especially when they have no children. And so really that first year or two is really them trying to establish themselves in a community and trying to get families, to see their environment as a place that's welcoming to their child. And to have that feel, you need to have your equipment and your materials available. And so this really helps in building that out. We have around, since COVID, I would say we've been able to successfully help between 40 to 50 individuals become licensed in a year, which is a huge amount. So you look at the level of interest in coming into this field and knowing that it's much needed within our communities, because we don't have enough slots to meet, the capacity within the county. And so there's people that are interested, but once they start and they open up and they don't have the interest of those families and they can't get the children enrolled, it's discouraging and they give up. But I think this gives them a chance to really put all their efforts into building their business for at least the first year, and then, have a more successful start.
And Lizette, I just will say too, that urgency of the need. I mean, the Isabella Project, obviously, this is one of many efforts happening in the Isabella Project, but it's been an experiment ground to try new things and to see what people need. And I think you're lifting up the importance of the flexible, unrestricted support where people can use it however they need, right? They know what they need. And clearly there's a commitment to, I mean, look at some of those 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 program photos were just so uplifting and so good for the soul. But I think, this is where I think, one of the best gifts that Child Development Resources has also brought is your county-wide expertise and service. And I think that when we look at what's possible, we think about Santa Paula, how can we sustain this? But then how can we also help lift this effort up and make it county-wide? So I just want to say, that's where your expertise within all 10 cities within our region is just so valuable. Alicia, I'm not going to pick on you, but I can see it. You get it so much with your expertise. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I think this team knows I adore them, so I'll say it out loud though. It's recorded and on recording. You're so right, Vanessa. They're a strong team and they bring such great expertise. And I guess what comes up for me is not only the work that you do through SIP to increase and expand our FCC population, but also that story of the one provider who started. And to your point, Vanessa, yeah. The investment across all of the programs, but for the families who are getting services in this one program and knowing that provider will now be able to provide sustainable services and is looking to expand and grow, not only speaks to the need in the community, but also to the sustainability of this investment, right? And what that scale could look like if it were able to expand to other pockets of our county. And I mean, I think I'm thinking about Rio right now, which we know is going to take a hit right now with spaces being cut in the preschool center-based area. And yep, and that's it would be a devastation to that community. And this is like one of those potential strategies of how do we, if we can't find center-based spaces to continue those services, what other pockets can exist to make that happen. And we know that our FCC population is one of those, and also can serve, Lizette pointed out, a very real point and problem of, there's costs associated with getting started, and there's costs associated for centers too, and being prepared to serve infants and toddlers, and FCCs are really, well-versed in doing that and doing mixed delivery care. So I'm so proud of all of you guys and all the work that's been done, and so thankful for this fiscal investment to make it happen.
Well, I just thank you so much, Alicia, for letting me call on you. But your perspective, and expertise has just been, at the cornerstone of how we've been able to move forward. And thank you for those. Stacy, I see you have a question or comment.
I do both. First, congratulations. It's super exciting, really interesting to hear and to see. It's really exciting to see it happening in our community here. I was curious, and this may be too big of an ask, but for the the next round, assuming it continues, I wonder if you've been capturing stories from families who have benefited because now there's accessible, affordable care, and what that has meant to them, right? So not just the provider, but like the families who are bringing their children in for this care and having it in their own neighborhood, in their own community. Because I should have I'm sorry, I didn't even introduce myself. Stacy Swanson. I'm with Interface Children and Family Services, and I just can imagine that the families that we serve are definitely going to benefit from this, right? And because finding affordable childcare is such an uphill climb. And so I'd love to be able to share those stories from the family's perspective of what this has meant and what it will mean going forward. Just curious if anecdotally you've been capturing those stories as well. But thank you again for your work. This has been really interesting and informative and exciting.
Unfortunately, we did not set that up. I think after seeing the responses, we did think that we should get sort of the perspective of the families and how they're being impacted. But at the start of the program, we were very clear with what the expectation was for the providers, and we didn't want to like change that on them at the end. So we didn't move forward with doing something like that. We do an overall survey once per year for all of our families, but there would be no way in knowing, who's coming from those childcare providers. So unfortunately, we don't have that data at this time. But moving forward, we could definitely implement it.
Like I said, I totally get that and understand that. But it would be good for the next round of, the millions of dollars that are going to roll in because this is so successful, right? We can hope, right? And capacity and the gathering that information is so hard anyway. I totally get it.
No, I love that. And Stacy, I think that's something that we can do. It's what I love about this is where it's kind of a team effort and designing. And I think your perspective, it just makes so much sense. And I think we can absolutely build this in. And something that we wanted to do is make sure, where are we? Year two, how has it been going? And then now let's lift it up. And I think some of the comments have been really uplifting in the chat. I think that everybody sees it as working. And just, I think about the beauty of the Isabella Project. You have Economic Development Collaborative and their work, and you have the Women's Economic Ventures and their work. And if we can just continue to bring everybody together, I think we can expand this and even do more. One of the questions I have, Cameron, for you is you've worked with communities throughout the state and the nation. Like, what do you think we should be thinking about now as we look forward?
Yeah, I have been obsessed with because I organize around politicians and they are obsessed with the affordability crisis. And like the first thing, it's not housing, it's a little bit healthcare, but like childcare is like the thing that at least 2 years ago, but especially now, that a lot of folks are focused on. And so I think, yeah, everything y'all have been saying, and I would wonder if like Road Foundation, I saw the cohort of 10, the Bridge Project, is a good partner to curate a stronger relationship with. They have massive amounts of funding that they seed across the nation. But yeah, not many folks, very few folks have approached child care affordability and access to high quality child care with this specific strategy. So I think, yeah, this is like a best model that should be lifted up. So strike while the iron is hot. I feel like this year and next year, going into 2028, everyone's going to be freaking out about childcare and all that.
I think that's one of the beautiful things, and I know this is the Isabella Project Steering Committee virtual lunch and learn. So everyone here connected, to trying to help, improve access to highest quality early childhood education throughout our county. And obviously, we do have a crisis. When we started this work, 50% of our children across the county had no access. I think obviously the Isabella Project and all of our partners have been all doing all we can to partner together to build the infrastructure and build the mechanism to make this happen. And I think part of where we are right now is we're in a pivotal moment because we have incredible research together. I know many of the providers here have participated in in-depth focus interviews. Their clients have participated in in-depth focus interviews. We did a huge amount of research on 26 areas of tension and challenge within the space. And I think right now, Cameron, to your point, I do think we're poised to be able to bring some of the successes like this program forward and help build traction. And especially when you look at the impact and with that, I just want to say, you think about it, you're right, you're impacting the 8 providers and then all of the children that are being served and their families. But then it's not like they do that for 1 year. They continue and they offer childcare the next year and the next year. And so it is really one of those, I think, very exciting ways of building an ecosystem throughout the county. I want to make sure that we get any other questions or comments. This is really meant to be a co-created thing. So please also, if you have other ideas on how we spread the word, I would definitely want to hear. And while we are waiting, if there's any questions, just come off mute and I'll make sure to call on you. Oh, Finley, I see you have a question or comment.
Yeah, I actually had a quick question. I was just curious how I know in California that public districts are going to be offering like TK more often now. Does that change how the pilot program for this proceeds? Does that change any of those outlooks for that, or is that also? I don't really know how the TK if that includes like private places or if it's just public schools. Just curious how that works out with this program.
I can comment on that. So there's been some, I think, positives and some challenges with the rollout of TK. What we've seen countywide is we went from what we call childcare deserts with preschool age children, right? Especially 4-year-olds, where we were at like 40%, 40 to 50%, maybe even less than that. And definitely what they call a childcare desert is 30% or less slots available for the population in the area. With TK, we got up to now almost 60 to 70% of slots now available for children between all the different types. So TK, private preschools, and then subsidized or state-run preschools. But that shift, unfortunately, has really caused some disruption in the marketplace. And as a result, families definitely, especially when it comes to those state subsidized programs, you have to do a lot of paperwork. You have to be able to be eligible. There's a lot of work that goes in before you can get in. Where TK, you just show up and do the paperwork, you're in. There's definitely some gaps in the number of hours, and parents tend to have a higher need than what the school districts can offer. But with all said, yes, we did, I think, did a great job now of getting more slots in total available for families. However, it's caused our center-based providers to decrease. So we've lost over 100 centers and since this has been going on, and they've not recovered back. Family child care providers have. So we now have more licensed family child care providers now than we did pre-COVID. So but the difference here is that they're 8 and 14 as opposed to centers that served anywhere from 20 to as much as 60 or 80 children. So we did have a loss of that capacity. And what was great about those models is that they also served infants. They had longer hours. So some parents are finding it challenging to find the childcare that meets their needs now as a result. So I think there's, like I said, there's positives, there's challenges, and it does affect the family childcare providers. We've heard anecdotally how they lost those 4-year-olds. And if I'm trying not to get into the weeds, but the model the economic model of how childcare works, especially if you get bigger or even in a family childcare, is the concept is you want different age groups, and the combination of those things help. So the preschool is your bread and butter. That's where you make the most money. The infant, toddler, and school age, you don't make as much money. It costs more. And so that losing that preschool age group really hurts those businesses to be able to survive. And so that's where we need to kind of come and rethink and look at these pieces. Um, I think the other piece is that there's definitely more children in our community. There's more need than there are spaces at the end of the day, for the most part. We have a few pockets now where they do meet the need. There's the amount of slots that are available are at or exceed the number of children that actually live in that smaller area. But these are the things that, Isabella Project, but all these parts of what we're trying to do is help solve those problems. I also just wanted to add one more thing was I think going back to the this project, the guaranteed income project, I think what made it successful wasn't that it was done by itself in a silo. I think what made it work was combining it with other grants and combining it with the work that we were already doing, and the support with the Isabella project as well, and the partners that were there. I think going forward, what would make these types of efforts work, and be successful is to combine it, to leverage as many different programs and as we can as we do these things, because they can't be done in silos. They can't be done by just any one agency either. We need that group, that village, to help make them be successful.
Stuart, I couldn't have said it better. And I want to lift up Rosa Villanueva is on this call from Poder Popular. And I just want to say there's a number I know that are working with Poder Popular, and they've been an incredible partner within the Isabella project. And Líderes con Isabella, they meet once a month on Saturdays. They're working on getting I mean, Gabino, you could talk about this a lot more, but they're working on getting kids into homes for children, for activities. There's a conference coming up in April on the rights of the child. Gabino, did you want to mention anything else on that?
Yes, thank you, Vanessa, for that segue. It was perfect. Yes, April 25th, and at Glen City School here in Santa Paula, we're having a conference called Cien Mujeres. And the concept is to organize, bring together, and fully inform with all things early childhood education, including childcare, for 100 women as a core group here in town that will, through word of mouth and through their social networks, get the information out on the Isabella Project and a host of other things. So this conference that we're having on the 25th will include a series of workshops on Medi-Cal eligibility benefits, Cal Kids scholarships, oral health, stages of child development, childcare as a business, the Isabella Project, testimonials on childcare, which is what we're talking about right now, testimonials on family engagement with early childhood education. And we'll have food, raffles, prizes, childcare will be available as well. So we'll have a couple of panels. One of those panels will talk about challenges to sending your children to preschool since, quote unquote, they're still babies, and barriers that and beliefs that keep parents from engaging with early childhood education. So we're inviting everyone to come along and share the good news on not only this project, and perhaps, I would say that we're inviting providers to table their information on eligibility and opportunities. And of course, this guaranteed income project would be very valuable to share here in Santa Paula. So stay tuned for more updates on this. Thank you very much.
Excellent. I just have to also, I'm going to just shout out to Thanya Thiep Chatsawat. All of you probably that have been involved in the Isabella Project for a long time remember Yim. Yim was our international fellow from Thailand, and her project, the first year she was here, this was several years ago now, was actually working with Dr. Aguirre and Poder Popular and our Child Development Resources and VCOE and First Five on doing a Right to the Child convening. And I just think this is a continuation of that journey. It's really beautiful. And I just want to say hello to Yim. We miss you. I'm sure it's like the middle of the night for her, but she often will check in with us. I will say, I know we're getting toward that end, but I did save some really exciting news for the end. So Jennifer McCormick has joined our team as interim director of strategic initiatives. And so I know several of you, this is only her third week. So several of you have already connected, but she's drinking from a fire hose right now. And I just want to give a big shout out to Lauren, Christian, and Finley from my team who've been helping make sure she's welcomed and connected, but just know that she's here. She brings a wealth of expertise. You'll get to hear more about her background. Which includes serving as a principal of a school. So you'll love meeting with her in April. But Jennifer, is there anything you want to add?
I am just really happy and excited to be here and so impressed with what you all did with this pilot. I just think it's so incredible. I mean, Vanessa talked about my professional background. I'm also the mom of a 3 and 4 year old and think a lot personally about this as well. And I think when you think about the personal impacts that has on families as well as the community of childcare providers, it's just really incredible. So kudos to all of you. For running such a great program.
Well, I'm so grateful you're here. We've just love working with you and really excited for the meeting in April. So with that, Lauren, I'm going to turn it back to you, but I just want to make sure on your calendars is the next Isabella Project Steering Committee. We have such an intense agenda that this is the meeting you don't want to miss. But this year, instead of having many meetings, we're going to have 3 steering committee meetings in person. Okay, so this is one of 3 meetings. The next one is not going to be until fall. But you want to come. You want to come. Obviously, we want to celebrate and lift up the success of the Guaranteed Income Pilot Program. We want to talk about where things are with Briggs Elementary. I am going to just share the Briggs Early Care Hub. We've put together a proposal. We've sent it out. Many of you have written letters of recommendation. I did get a call today that more letters of support would be helpful. So if your organization has not put a letter of support for the Early Care Hub, we could use more. So far, we have one from the city, we have one from Briggs, we have one from the Chancellor's Office, the community colleges, we have one from our Assembly member, Jackie Irwin. We have many First Five child development resources, but please, if you have not yet submitted a letter and would like to, just reach out to Jennifer. She'll put her information in the chat. But this is the time, it's all hands on deck. We need to get letters of support for this project. This Early Care Hub will serve 150 families, and we already have several other locations that have been waiting in line. And we won't talk about lifting that up until we get this done. So this is the time to help make that happen. And so don't miss the meeting. And then in the fall, we're looking at doing another Todos Juntos por los Niños event, this time a kite festival. So don't want to miss that. And so just come to the meeting, be a part. Good things are happening. We may not all see each other every day, but I know, thank you for all the work. It's a collective effort and it really matters. With that, Lauren, I will hand it back to you.
Great. So thank you all so much for coming to this month's Isabella Project Lunch and Learn. And we will be sending out a recording to everyone in the coming days. And that will also include an invitation to our next Isabella Project Lunch and Learn, which will be on Thursday, May 28th, with Alicia McFarland, who's here again with us, as well as Tony Isaacs from the Ventura County Office of Education, for them to discuss pathways to ECE higher education and professional development, as well as some of the findings that Alicia put in the chat as well for the local Planning Council presentation. I believe there's going to be some updates coming soon. Is that right, Alicia? I know we chatted a little bit. Yeah.
Be happy to include that.
Wonderful. Well, yes, thank you all so much for your engagement today and your support of the Isabella Project. We're always so happy to see you, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon in the near future.
And please
Thank you
spread
all.
the word. Please spread the word. Thank you so much. Oh, was that Annabelle Stewart? Rosa, good to see you. Hola. Hello.